Hello, my friends. Welcome back to the Hot Pot. We're at cycle 445. The dupe count is still the same, of course. Like I said, we're not going to be increasing our dupe count until we can get off of these morbs and onto electrolyzers. This morb area has filled out just a little more, as you can tell, so looking pretty good on that front. Basic resources, food's looking pretty good still. Oxygen's looking, again, not stellar, but this is at least sustainable, like just barely sustainable, but it works, so that's pretty much the name of the game on this map. Yeah, so that's looking pretty good. Let's take a look at what's changed, and the biggest things that has changed is this new aqua tuner and cold saltwater room. This is the very basic concept of, like, you know, you have a really cold pool of water that you have a lot of pumps going into so that they can cool all kinds of different stuff around the map. So I'm cooling this, for example, cooling this room, which I'm just changing out to lead pipes, which we'll get to in just a bit. And I have 3 aqua tuners here. Might be a little bit overkill, but I'd rather not have to crack this open and make fixes to it later. So even if I don't necessarily need all 3 all the time, I'd rather have 3 just in case. Yeah, so that's what's been happening here. And by the way, this is going to look a lot different than the last video, only because obviously none of this stuff was here, but the piping is a lot different too. This is not something that's usually paid too much attention to in a lot of videos, but this piping I thought was actually really neat. I was having a lot of different piping that I needed to deal with, and I thought that it might be a good idea to make all my piping kind of flow in a certain direction, so when it's coming out of the cold room, it flows right, and then it goes up to the... I guess this is all going like counterclockwise. If one of these was on, you'd be able to see it. Maybe I'll just turn it on just to fudge it. Hopefully this won't get too cold. That might freeze. Well, if it does, then... No, that's not a good idea. What am I doing? Why would I break my stuff? Oh, here we go. There's something being piped in there. So yeah, it's just kind of this whole, like, revolving, like, piping, and there's, like, a freeway of pipes here. It's pretty cool. It was especially cool when I first got it up because all of my water was too hot, so I had all 3 things going, and there's this big freeway of piping going on. So yeah, I thought that was pretty neat, and also pretty tidy for how much cooling power I really need over here on the side. So definitely better than just kind of like a rat's nest of piping, but I don't know why, I just thought that was cool. Thought it might be interesting to show and talk about a little bit. Because all this area is coming up, that means that this area is going to start getting deconstructed, so I am just pumping the salt water out and getting rid of it. This is 150 degree roughly salt water, and I'm not really interested in having anything done with it, so I'm just getting rid of it. And then this polluted water is going to get moved probably nearby where I have my electrolyzer set up, which again, I'm not sure if it's going to be here or if it's going to be here or something like that. I do want to build it outside my base because I don't want to perform like regular maintenance on it or anything like that. And once I get cooling and everything set up, then I don't really need to keep it in my base, so I'll have to have the electrolyzer set up plus some kind of like water purification set up. And that's mostly just to kill germs, because I can build this wherever I want. I don't necessarily need to build that outside my base. So I'll probably just build another one like here or something, and then the runoff for my bathrooms will just go there and into a room to kill germs, and then eventually drop down into a room where it's pumped into my electrolyzers. And yeah, that'll roughly be the setup. Nothing too crazy. It should be pretty standard. So that's that. Something else you might notice is that the hot room looks a little bit different, and that's because I'm needing to expand this just a little bit more. I didn't expand as far as I could the first time just because I wanted to get this up as soon as possible. So I'm going to expand and add a couple more layers on here. This is just so I can hold all of the big power producers and all the big heat producers like these guys, and like my metal refiner, which I have deconstructed and I'm just going to put back up here in a little bit, just so I have space for all that stuff, and once this goes away, it'll be easier to build in there. And then this will be a hot room that I eventually open up this layer to once it's not so hot down here. And then I will have a fully connected base, and the bottom of my hot room will be the bottom of my base as well. So that the only pumps I should need to ventilate my base will be at the bottom of the hot room, and that'll be it. It'll be kind of a cool base setup, actually. This is something that, if you're ever going to wall off your base, I would suggest having something like this down at the bottom, where all of the, you know, nasty gas settles, maybe some wastewater settles, and that kind of stuff. It's pretty cool. At least I think it is, but I don't know. Whatever. The only other thing that's really been happening, and there's been a lot of... This project took me a really long time, by the way. So you might notice a lot of time has passed, and again, not a lot of changes happened. That's partly because this project took a long time, but there's also like a lot of minor movements that happened in here that took a while, and a lot of deconstruction and a lot of cleanup and stuff like that. This is a messy, messy map, and it's going to force you to be messy with the tiny amount of space that you have, so I'm definitely feeling the effects of that. But yeah, the last little thing I've been trying to get up here is getting all this lead piping put in, and I was basically just mining out a biome so I could get the lead for it, so I mined this out most of the way, and just basically had the oil sitting at the bottom here. I'm probably not going to tap this. I'm probably going to tap a different one later. Probably this one, because it's the closest to my natural gas. And if I use an oil well, then it's going to generate natural gas as well, and I kind of want it to be closer to the source if I can get there. Also, yeah, I guess I don't have too much of a reason not necessarily to build it right here, other than I feel like it'll just be more convenient being a different location. That's quite a bit of minutia. I'm sure nobody really cares about those details, but anyway. Yeah, so for the next video, again, I've been talking about this hydrogen vent for a little while. I'm definitely starting to set up now that I have a decent amount of ceramic and had enough metal tile to get this thing started. So this is roughly what the setup's going to look like. It looks almost identical to the previous time that I did this, which is in my walkthrough video. Just going to have a little pump here on the side. This door will open when it gets cool enough, when the hydrogen is cool enough. I'll probably have a big tank to store excess hydrogen down here and then pump it into my power generators. And this is, and I said this in my walkthrough video once again, this is probably the best vent in the whole game in terms of how much it can do for you. Either that or the cool slush geyser. They do different things for sure, but they're both really powerful. So if you can get your hands on one of these, I would definitely recommend doing that. So yeah, the next thing is going to be probably this. I think I'm going to try to get my electrolyzers up. And then I think once I get my electrolyzers up, I can start deconstructing all this junk. And I can hook all that stuff straight into my saltwater line that's still coming down that I'm not really doing anything with anymore. So I'll have that. I'll have my bathroom runoff and all that good stuff turning into oxygen. And then if I get far enough before the next video, I'm not sure if I actually will, I'll capture this and I will start making plastic en masse. Plastic actually is coming in pretty decently from this setup here, so I was a little bit surprised at how well this worked. But that's mainly just because of how many eggs I'm cranking out. So I guess I haven't fully decided this or like proclaimed this, but it might be true that the way to actually get a lot of plastic from these Drecos isn't necessarily from the ones that you're keeping in these rooms. It's the ones that are coming off of the egg factories and eventually into the rooms where you can do something with it. I feel like this is a lot stronger setup than something like that. So yeah, that's, I don't know, kind of an interesting learning, and it's also good to know that after playing this game for 1,500 hours, whatever it is, that I'm still learning new things, so that's kind of been interesting as well. But anyway, I'm really off topic. The whole point there was polymer presses are probably going to be coming up here for the transit tubes, and then once I get the transit tubes up and once I'm feeling comfortable with my level of power, I may or may not grab this volcano if I'm not feeling fully secure, but once I am, that means we're out into space and we're trying to finish this thing. Steel is again going to be a huge problem because I've really only found that one pocket of iron, and there's not a whole lot of it to go around. This is all the iron ore I have, which doesn't really translate super well into steel, but it's okay. I don't know if I still need to go exploring, and I don't know if I need to go into space early and start just mining out space so I can get iron from meteors or whatever, but yeah, I don't know. I haven't ever been this iron deprived before, but those are basically the steps for the short term and the pretty longish term. And then that'll be pretty much it. It's just a matter of producing resources after that. I don't have any major concerns in terms of oxygen or power or water or anything like that, so I'm feeling pretty good. We feel a lot more stable than we have for a little while, so yeah. Like I always say, I'm uploading these all together, so the next part of this run will be located in the next video. It should hopefully be at the top right of your screen right now if you are not watching in full screen. So if you want to check that out, click that video, drop some comments down below if you like stuff like this so I know what to produce later in terms of new videos. So yeah, that's all I got. Have a good one.